Hi everybody, we're back. This presentation is brought to you by Sportradar. It's in collaboration with the Tennis Channel, and we'll be looking at the power of data, unlocking new levels of entertainment and revenues. We'll deep dive into the power of various platforms and how they can unlock commercial value from data, from higher levels of entertainment and engagement through to relevant and seamless betting opportunities. So for this presentation today, I'm conscious of time, so I'm going to dive straight into it. And I have the pleasure of introducing our following guests: Director of Digital Platforms at Sportradar, Felix Constantin, and Jan Menneken, who is a consultant for international distribution and sponsor strategy for the Tennis Channel and Sinclair Media Group. Gentlemen, all you.
Thank you very much. Also, a warm welcome from my side. It's a pleasure to have you all here. And yeah, conscious of time, so let me jump in quite quickly. We got thankfully introduced. Let me, before we go into the discussion about how the Tennis Channel International used the power of data in our OTT solutions to create a fantastic new platform solution, give you a brief indication about who Sportradar is. We are if not the biggest global data company. We work on the, let's say, 360 degrees complete data value chain, from the data collection up to the distribution. We are at the intersection, and that's the reason why we also have an OTT, of data, media, sports entertainment, and betting. And we deliver to rights holders specific solutions to collect the data and make more out of the data and create new media and sports entertainment experience. And that is why we have our Sportradar OTT solution, which is a quite experienced technical setup. We're in the market for 15 years. We used to belong to another company, but Sportradar acquired us about 5 years ago. And we are flexible enough to deliver and to provide the perfect individualized and customized solutions, from, let's say, the more long tail rights holder or content owner up to the, let's say, tier ones, to the fully bespoke platform. How are we doing that, and what makes us different maybe to others is we know that, from a technical perspective, streaming could be something like commodity already. Is like, we want to combine data and video. And when we talk about the combination of data and video, we always think about two, let's say, data targets. The one is the classic sports data we are in for so many years, where we deliver new product experiences and new revenue opportunities to any of our platform partners. The other is about the insights of the users. I think we all know, with the beauty of digital, we have now direct to consumer relationships. So any content owner or any rights holder have their direct relationship to the fans and gets a lot of insight out of it. And this combination can create new products, new customer experience, can enhance the product and the success of the product itself, but also then leads to new revenue streams. And this is something we want to quickly talk about and give you an introduction how Tennis Channel International is using this different solutions and approaches to create a new and holistic data-driven OTT solution. Jan, it's on you.
Thank you, Felix. So welcome, everybody. You have to forgive us. The presentation is on Felix's machine. So when I now want to switch slides, I will have to do that audio verbally and tell Felix to go for the next slide. So the sport of tennis. I know you're all sports professionals. No doubt I've met many of you before. But Felix, next slide, please. The sport of tennis is fragmented like no other sport. There's many different rights holders. Below, we showed the logos of the 4 Grand Slams, ATP, WTA, ITF. But as many of you know, there are a multitude of other bodies, the regional federations, the national federations, individual tournament owners. So many different rights holders. I need to explain maybe what I mean by lack of availability for fans. It always depends on the cycle of tennis in the individual country. So when there's a boom in a country because there's a successful player, then all of a sudden tennis is everywhere, but not really clear where it is. So there's no consistency. And then if tennis, like for example in Germany, when tennis after the Becker and Graf boom went down, then all of a sudden matches were not visible anymore, and it was very difficult to find tennis when you wanted to see it. So Germany is an example. Another example is the US, where tennis was very successful in the 70s and 80s, but then was not really in one space in the 90s. And that's why Tennis Channel started. Next slide, Felix, please. Tennis Channel is a destination for tennis. So I don't know how many Americans are in this presentation, but you will know that in America, people either know that they have the Tennis Channel and they love it, or they don't know and they're not interested in tennis and they have no idea. So Tennis Channel started in 2001 with 10 million households. They told me at the time, because I was still at the ITF and I did a deal with them, but I don't believe them looking back. But they grew quickly to about 30 million homes. And in 2014, Tennis Channel Plus was started. And that's the first OTT channel in the world dedicated for tennis, and the #1 OTT platform worldwide for tennis, and wins all the prizes in America. So there was a lot of expertise inside the company and a lot of focus on OTT solution for tennis. Then in 2016, Sinclair Broadcasting Group bought the Tennis Channel 100%. Sinclair is not so well known outside the US. It's the biggest television provider in the US by volume. It has 8,400 employees, but most of them are inside all of them are inside the US except me. So in 2020, we launched Tennis Channel International, at first in Germany, Austria, and Switzerland. Next slide, please. This is how it looks like. The big thing is obviously a smart TV, a very fast growing segment for us, then a computer, a desktop computer, then an iPad, and then on the smartphone. And as everywhere in OTT, the smartphone usage and the mobile usage is growing for us. Even in the short time of our existence, we can see a shift towards mobile usage and to smart TVs. Next slide. So what is it? It's a Tennis Channel Deutschland is a specific channel for Germany on the Tennis Channel International platform. It's a 24/7 channel. It's programmed, and there's a programming guide. People will sit there and say, okay, now we're showing this match, and this is why it's an interesting match, and this is why it's important. And so people are taken by the hand and led towards the viewing experience. And we think this is the key for OTT, is to have a narrative, to have somebody explain to you, and so the combination of having a narrative and an explanation and a one-stop shop, that is, we think, is going to be the successful. We have Amagi powered dynamic graphics. We have, this is already outdated, we have more than 15 shows that we created for the launch. We have daily thematic programming. So this is a story of, well, we have a Davis Cup victory for the Germans, or we have the decade of the South American great tennis men, or then we have the big rivalries. So it's daily thematic programming, and it's localized for the German market. And maybe it goes, I don't want to go too deep into the product here, but if you sit in France, you will get a French version, and you will get led towards French content. However, all the content is accessible. But depending on where you log in from, you will get your localized solution, both for the live channel, for the priority markets, and for the VOD experience. Next channel. We think we have a very good graphic design, and we like the look and feel of it. And this is just an example. This is an example of the home screen. If you scroll down, you will get many hours of content. And if you click on any of these images, you are led down towards, say, you like Angelique Kerber, then you'll see her Australian Open victory match in 2016. You will see interviews with her. You will see a bag check with her where she shows what's in her tennis bag. You get to know the player, and we give you in-depth content for the player. Next slide. So the strategy is we focus on priority countries. As I said, we launched in Austria, Germany, Switzerland. We will launch in countries like Australia, UK, France in 2021. And for those countries, we have a 24/7 curated linear streaming tennis channel. Tennis Channel UK will exist. We're telling the story of tennis, that's our focus. Original programming, best matches of all time with commentary. And we program the linear channel and the VOD for every channel. And this is important, and as we come to the focus of this conference, we use data to tell the story, and we use data also to make the user experience better and to link with betting opportunities in the end. But Felix will speak about that more in the end. Every match in the world creates a large amount of data. Some of you will be aware of the ITF package that Sportradar is selling. So 1,000 tournaments every year, and data from every match of these tournaments is fed into the user experience and the betting industry. But as a tennis channel, we are not focused on betting. We think that it's a very important element, but we want to tell the story and want to show the video experience for all these matches. Next slide. So when we looked into how to do this, Sinclair Broadcasting Group also has its own OTT backbone solution in the US. And we looked into this. Sinclair Broadcasting has about over 200 regional television stations in the US that sit in Washington State. And we weighed up the two options and either go out-house or in-house. And we felt in-house, we don't have the international expertise, and we also don't have the necessary bandwidth, human bandwidth at our in-house solution in Washington. So we looked in the market and we decided to go with Sportradar, who is, as you know, the leading global provider of sports data intelligence, in a great position inside sports, media, and betting, and of course, already official partner for a multitude of sport organizations. This is just the ones with 3 characters, acronyms. Yeah, and I've worked a lot with Sportradar when I was at the ITF, so I knew them well. And I knew that in tennis, they are particularly well placed to work with us. They're a fantastic OTT sports solution, and we have worked well with them in the past. And they don't pay me to say this. We developed a global OTT product with the emphasis on video and data. And as I said, we use data integration to enhance the viewing experience. And we are not there yet, to be honest, where I think we can be with gamification and betting opportunities. But of course, this is a growing opportunity, and we will, by opening up more and more markets, we will become stronger and use it more. Of course, you have to also be careful. We will launch Tennis Channel International at some point, which will be available everywhere. In addition to the channel of the localized priority markets. And you have to be careful and mindful of the legislation and the relevant markets with regards to betting. Next slide. To give you an example, when we started out, we said we thought our focus is going to be on VOD and archive rights and telling the story of tennis rather than live events. Now, COVID-19 changed everything, and we have a lot more live than we thought. We launched in May 2020, and we already streamed over 1,000 matches on our platform. For example, the Hamburg European Open. I'm showing this slide to give you an idea of the graphic, how we promote it and how we sell the event to our customers. Next slide. You will see obviously it's an ATP 500 event. We're the official streaming partner of that event. It's the biggest tournament in Germany, strong stars, fantastic lineup. And we did all 32 matches on TCI. The broadcaster was NDR, the ARD station, and they have done matches. They also did some streaming, but we showed every single tournament, and we were very active on social media and to promote it. Next slide, please. And then we said, okay, for the semis and the final, we want to do something different because NDR is doing it as well. So let's do something special. And we we found a new software technology, which is one example of how you can use data in a non-betting or non-gamification or performance interest. And this is really, we had a master control in the cloud, and we used our own commentators in 2 different remote locations. So we had one commentator in Monaco, the other in Vienna, and they were commentating on a match happening in Hamburg. And that is obviously has huge implications for the future for us as a TV station. This was our first try in this, and it worked really, really well. We also inserted promotional videos and graphics during crossovers between sets. We had Misha Zverev, who many of you will know. He's a brother of Sasha Zverev, and he's a current ATP player. And we had him as a color commentator to give player perspective on matches. It's in German language, but by the way, if you go to Tennis Channel, you can switch languages. You can choose, I want to have everything in German or I want to have everything in English. Not everything will be in German. Some of it will be subtitled, and some of the content is still totally in English. But you know, the main thrust of the channel is in the language of the priority market. Next channel, next slide. Sorry, this is how it looked like. You can see on the right, you have Misha sitting in Monaco and Fabian sitting in Vienna, and they were commentating. And on the left, you see the master control screen of Kisby, how we use that and how we interconnect these two. Misha was commentating really for the tennis fan. Our audience, we think, is the very tennis interested fan and not the average sports fan. So when you look at say the BBC commentates on Wimbledon, then the commentators have to commentate so it's accessible and useful for the average sports fan. Whereas Misha was commentating very technical. He said, here I would play a high topspin to his backhand, so then he goes short and I can go cross court and move forward and put pressure on him. So very technical tennis commentary, and we had very good feedback on that. And in future, we will be able to use many more commentators who are A, expensive to fly around the world, and B, don't like to travel, some of them, and then we can use them to commentate on select matches. If you go for the next slide. And I'll hand over to Felix again. Matchcast for me is one of the critical elements why it's going to be fun why you have to be a subscriber to Tennis Channel if you want to follow tennis. If you sit on your computer screen at work and you want to follow a match but you cannot watch the match, then you want to have a data experience. You want to know what the score is, but that's not enough in 2020. You want more, and this is why we developed the Sportradar, a tool, a data tool, which will, I think, revolutionize the way we follow tennis. And if you, by the way, and then I'll hand over to Felix, if you watch the match live on TV, you still want the second screen experience and find out, so what's happening? Why is Federer now starting to lose? Or why is Thiem coming back in the US Open final against Zverev? It's because all of a sudden he starts to serve better and he reduces the number of unforced errors. So data becomes a critical tool for the viewer to increase that experience. Felix, over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Jan. Yeah, maybe quick recap also from my side. So if you're going back and think about the approach we have with Sportradar OTT, we have this strong backbone, we call it the engine, where we do 50,000 live events, which are streamed all around the world each year. But then we're now coming to the beauty of our overall solution. And as you can see, we're able to add additional bits and pieces to create a better experience and to also create new revenue streams. And we do so by using our data we have to make a better product. We use to learn from the data insights we get from the users and combine that into a more holistic and more beneficial, commercially successful experience. And when we're going back to the Matchcast, Jan, explained it perfectly. We all know, and we've seen that at the beginning with the fragmentation of tennis, is the fact that you cannot cover every single match on an OTT platform. I mean, you can try, but there are different right solutions. So what we do is, at least not as a video or live streaming picture. So what we do is we offer two things. We offer the opportunity within the OTT experience to follow every single match we have available as Sportradar in a new, let's say, data-driven experience. As you can see here on this slide, you can switch between the different matches and you can follow the matches even if you don't see the live stream. But, and that is then the next, if you're watching a live stream, you can use it as a second screen experience. You have more insights, you have more information about how the tennis match is developing. We are creating new KPIs for tennis to look a little bit more depth from other angles and make the experience from watching tennis on Tennis Channel International much more beneficial. And as you can already see on the bottom left, on the right-hand side, a little tiny, we're also now at the intersection between data and betting. As you know, as Sportradar, we're serving also multiple betting operators with data, with odds, with many things. And we want to use that to bring, let's say, media and betting much closer, to make two things: to have, let's say, the premium media experience for the user, but also give, and I mean, you know, betting and watching a sport is both the same, is pretty much the same, as it covers, let's say, the whole, you know, it can be considered as sports entertainment. And, you know, to bring these two entertainment aspects into one, I think that is where we see the future. And we have the possibility, let's say, to integrate betting opportunities already into a, let's say, media product. And that is the next step we want to develop jointly with Tennis Channel International. Maybe one thing, if you're now going to Tennis Channel International right now today, we have launched this year, and you know, we have challenging circumstances with COVID. And so we were able to launch it with VOD. We were able to add new live experiences, Jan told it, which haven't been planned, but, you know, we created new tournaments behind closed doors, and, you know, we were able to, you know, mutually work on bringing the product live and, you know, providing new content even in hard times. So, but we had a little bit to postpone the bigger ideas with Matchcast and the betting integration into the Tennis Channel International experience. I mean, not very surprisingly, we haven't had that many tennis matches, in particular in spring and early summer, to provide a full Matchcast solution. But it'll come, and the same with betting. And you see, betting can start from a, let's say, dedicated hosted betting channels where people talk about different betting opportunities, and it can also then end with a direct embedded way how users can either be attracted or can maybe even, depending on legal restrictions, place a bet within the platform itself. That's exactly the way how we see it, that we bring different data-driven features and functionalities on top, let's say, of our Sportradar core platform. And we just have had here three small examples what will be and is already be possible, but there are many others, of course. And, you know, there's always the question, okay, OTT is beautiful and everybody knows, you know, video is so important, and any rights holder and content owner has to find an answer of what to do with video. But it's, you know, quite often the challenge to find the right answer. How can we commercialize? I mean, there are ways, and by maybe just selling the content, but we have to go beyond that. And, you know, adding additional entertainment and gamification options will lead to additional revenue streams, including betting. And it's not only by placing a bet, but also, you know, opening up the platforms for betting advertisement. Yeah, we have another solution which we can perfectly connect, which is called Sportradar Ads, but that is maybe something for another session we're happy to tell. yeah, so what we want to do is we want to have a perfect technical foundation, and then the freedom and flexibility to add new features and functionalities to do two things: create a better user experience and create new revenue streams and make the OTT platform commercially successful. Yeah, I think that's it for now for the short introduction. I hope we could give you some new idea and aspects. We are here to take questions. I think we hit it quite well. We are also, if you have questions after this session, please don't hesitate to contact us or the Sportsbit organization. We're happy to interconnect and exchange even after this session.
And the
Thank you,
ones in
gentlemen.
Germany and Austria, Switzerland can subscribe to the tennis channel.
That's for sure.
Important shout out at the end. Thank you, gentlemen. Really appreciate that fascinating presentation, not just for tennis fans, but I think applicable across the sporting disciplines. So really interesting. Thank you for that. I've got two questions, one for you individually. I'll start with Felix if I can, and I'll come to you afterwards, Jan. Felix, what's the next big challenge you're facing in terms of data collection, and where can it still be improved, not only in the way we collect data, but also apply it?
I mean, as we see, we have different sources of data and the challenges maybe differ. I think one interesting direction might be how we collect data. Can their data collection be automized? We're working jointly, for example, with automated production companies to even, create more content to make them be available on different OTT platforms. And the next step will be to how it is possible to use those automated signals for a new way of data collection, for example. And as I say, we all know we have already collected a lot of data, in particular also from user insights, but we just have to use it. And sometimes just do the simple stuff at the beginning. You don't have to, run AI-driven analysis at the very beginning. They help and they make it even better. But sometimes, even just have a look into the already existing findings, and you will see great effects from the very beginning.
Perfect. Thank you. And Jan, just a quick question. How severely has COVID actually impacted your OTT platform and your strategy and your approach towards it? Has it had any significant impact at all?
Very strong impact. So both from the content side, also from the user side. So we think people have more time to be at home and watch television or consume streaming media. So that should be a plus. On the other hand, people are maybe more careful to sign up to new things. On the other hand, from a content viewpoint, as I said, we didn't expect to have so many matches that we stream. And take, for example, the German Pro Series, that was an event, over 270 matches that didn't exist before, but it was done by the DTB and together, and we were the streaming partner, and they put that out for all the German players or the players in Germany to train and to play matches. And you see now how Hanfmann, Altmaier, Siegemund, and these guys who are really second level German tennis players are now performing much better than their international colleagues who maybe played more show events in other juries. So it changed the tennis world, and I think it will change. And by changing the tennis world, it also changed Tennis Channel International, and it will continue to do so for a foreseeable future, I think.
Interesting. And probably one last question for the two of you. How involved are the current players and professionals in this process of data collection? Is it benefiting them as much as it's benefiting the users? And do you ever run into complications with GDPR, data protection, all these kind of things?
So the players are very engaged, as you know, on social media, and the value of a player is very much driven by his or her social media profile at the moment, also for media companies like us. So they are involved. They also benefit from data collection that Felix talked about earlier in their own approach. One of my clubmates is Joe Salisbury. He's a top 10 doubles player, and I know how much he studies data and sees what percentage of first serve, second serves, what forehand, backhand, how volleys, and so on. So the players and coaches use data the viewers use data, as Felix explained earlier, the bettors, of course, but also the governing agencies to prevent fraud. So all these points are very important. That's why data is so critical for tennis.
Yeah, I think from my perspective, there's not much to add. And what we can say is that players become more and more involved. And like if organizations themselves become media, the players itself, they have become media already as well on different means. And I think that is already there. And maybe one last quote in regards to GDPR that is fully important. And we know that data protection is really important, in particular in German-speaking territories, even much more. And yeah, the platform delivers any means to secure that is covered as it has to be, and that is, I think, for sure. So a clear yes. It is
Perfect.
important, but yes, we'll have.
Thank you, gentlemen. Perfect, succinct, and clear. Lovely to have you here, both of you. Thank you very much for the really interesting presentation, and that's all we have time for. There's a few questions left on the Q&A, but as Felix has already mentioned, they'll come around to answering those later on. So that's it for now, gentlemen. Thank you for coming in, and on to the next presentation. Cheers.
It has been a pleasure. See you all.
Bye-bye.
See ya.